Larry, what's up? How are you doing? Thanks for joining me yet again.
Yet again, Michelle, it's always a
Yet again.
pleasure.
I'm so excited because today we have Courtney Frerichs, and you went to college with her. Is
Yeah,
that
so
correct?
we were teammates for 1 year at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Her husband, that's how she met her husband. Us three were all teammates there. Had a great group of people. That was back, gosh, I feel like I'm getting old. In 2013, 2014.
Like the youngest person in the world, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
and to me, it seems like so long ago.
Yeah.
Um, But Courtney, she was just like always a stud then. And then went on to make the 2016 Olympic team and has a silver medal from the World Championships and is the American record holder in the steeplechase. So I'm excited to have her on.
I know. She should be hopping on any second. And enter Courtney. Yay!
Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me? Do I have the
I
microphone?
can.
Yeah,
Okay.
you sound perfect.
Oh my gosh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. This is exciting. You don't know, I was dreaming about this last night.
Oh.
Like I was like waking up like, oh my gosh, I'm going to say something dumb.
Well, that's where the editing comes in.
Oh, Courtney, this is Michelle, by the way.
Hi.
Nice to meet
But
you.
Phil,
Nice to meet you.
So wait, Courtney, so you're living in Portland right now, right?
Yeah.
Are you there right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Do you guys have a house or where are you living?
Yeah, we have a house. It's like 3/4 mile from the Nike campus.
Nice.
I did not know you guys were that close.
Yeah. When we first moved here, we lived further away because I was like, oh, I want to kind of have my like running life and then have my other life. And then I realized that me being close to campus was actually a much better fit. So
Totally. And you could probably make the work-life balance a lot easier with less of a commute too.
exactly. So, and the running on campus is a lot better than where we were living. So.
Whew, that's good. Are you like quarantining okay where you're at? Are you safe and everything?
Yeah. Yeah. Our numbers in Oregon are actually pretty good, but we've been in a stay-at-home order for a while now. But yeah, like luckily, I mean, my lifestyle is pretty mild anyway. So
Yeah.
the whole stay-at-home thing fits pretty well with what we do. It's just sad that we can't meet like as a group and stuff really anymore. And like we don't have access to our normal facilities since the Nike campus is closed. It seems like everyone's kind of becoming a runner during all of this. It's the easiest exercise to get in right now.
100%.
It's like you said, running and walking is just the best. It's a good time to do that. Everything going on.
Especially, I mean, here the weather has been amazing. I don't know how it's been for you guys, but it's like
You said it's been
being able to go run and walk because it's so sunny out right now here. Actually,
Totally.
it's actually been like in the 60s, which
oh,
and it hasn't been raining, so we're really thankful for that right now.
dang.
Seriously.
Yeah, that is so perfect.
Sweet.
All right, you guys. So today we are here with Courtney Frerichs and Coach Michelle. Hello, guys. Courtney is a 2016 Olympian, was a 2017 silver medalist in the 3,000 meter steeplechase, and also holds the American record for the women's steeplechase. So, Courtney, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, first off, if you don't mind, would you just kind of go through, explain where you grew up, kind of what sports you played, and when you began running?
Yeah, so I grew up in Nixon, Missouri, so Southwest Missouri, and growing up, I was exposed to pretty much everything. I think my parents let me try anything and everything I wanted to do, so it was, I think even through like 6th or 7th grade, I was playing basketball and playing volleyball and softball, and gymnastics was a big part of my life. I was a competitive gymnast from age like 7 or 8. I started team training up until my senior year of high school. So
Wow.
that was definitely a big influence in my life. And then I was also a big soccer player. So a lot of the other sports kind of phased out as I got a little older. But growing up primarily, soccer, gymnastics, and running was, in there every once in a while, but it wasn't something I was super consistent with ever as a kid. It'd be like, oh, I ran this little track team one summer and then didn't run again really until 7th and 8th grade. And then even when I got into high school, chose not to run because the soccer season is the same time as track in Missouri.
True.
And initially freshman year, yeah, I committed to playing soccer. I had made the varsity team, and then halfway through the season, one of the track coaches was my science teacher, and he brought a uniform to class, and he said, I've already talked with the soccer coach. I've already talked with administration. You're allowed to do both. We just want you to come run the 4x4. And he knew that was the way to get me like to be excited, like to come onto the team, because I loved the relays. And so, yeah, pretty much all through high school. The only exposure to running I had until senior year was just running for the track team when it didn't conflict with soccer. And then finally, senior year, I had backed off my gymnastics training and decided to go out for the cross country team. And that was where I really discovered my love for running. The longer distance, I realized it suited me much better than the 400 and 800 that I'd been trying to do. And then just like, there is like a real team aspect to cross country, and there's so much camaraderie. And it was just a group of people that I could just fully be myself with. And I absolutely fell in love. And that was whenever it was in that short season that I realized like, I want to run in college too. And yeah, so.
So I got a confession to make. In
That's
college,
crazy.
I actually wrote a paper about you because it was all about generalization versus specialization in sports. And I was like, bam, Courtney, she did like every sport as a kid. So you definitely think like having all those sports, specifically gymnastics, helped with the steeplechase transition?
Absolutely. I mean, I think my gymnastics background has been so key in my ability to be a steeplechaser. And I also think it was the generalist approach and me pursuing everything I was passionate about has allowed me to channel the focus I have into running now without feeling like it was ever forced or,
You didn't burn out.
I've been doing it for too long. Exactly.
That's so interesting.
But I don't know. It's a unique, really interesting story, I think. Just the gymnast turning into. Did you like have the dream of being an Olympian, like in gymnastics when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you find my mom finds all of these old little projects or things I would write. You know, I remember in like second and third grade, you'd always had to do the things. It was like 3 things I wished for, 3 things or whatever, you know, and every single one says to go to the Olympics. And it was always for gymnastics though. That was, you know, I think there's a few sports out there, you know, track and field, gymnastics, swimming, that we associate them with Olympics. And so that's why it kind of seems like, you know, track and field or gymnastics, they get this huge like surge in popularity every 4 years because of the Olympics. And so that was always in the back of my head was, I want to be in the Olympics. I want to be in the Olympics. And so I think too, like, you know, my college coach, my freshman year, like gave me this goal of trying to make the Olympic trials. And I think that resonated with this little 7-year-old in me that had wanted to go to the Olympics so badly. And so it was really easy to like really commit and be all in. Cause I was like, well, I've wanted this my whole life. Like, you know, it's okay to change your goals a little bit by like changing what sport it was in.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think many people can do that.
Yeah, they don't have that range. That is awesome.
I can really see how the flexibility with being a gymnast probably helped you with the steeplechase too. Because you have to be pretty limber.
Yeah, the flexibility, and then just like the concept of like running at like objects. Particularly that's an area I find in my experience with working with different steeplechasers in college, and then even those that sometimes will try to kind of learn the event at the professional level, is the water jump is such a foreign concept because you're running at it and not even trying to clear it. Like you're trying to hit it and then land on one foot. And that like those are things that in gymnastics, it's so routine. Yeah. And so it just wasn't foreign to me. It felt natural. And it was also, you know, my freshman year of college was a huge transition year. I mean, it is for anybody going from high school to college, but just in the fact that I was leaving behind a huge chapter of my life, and that was gymnastics. And, you know, focusing on this one thing that I was still very new to. And so being able to bring these skills that, you know, were from such a passion place for me to this new one, it just felt right. And it felt like, you know, gymnastics still had a purpose in my life. I wasn't like doing it anymore.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, when you and Emma went 1 and 2, I remember I rewatched that race recently. I was watching you go over the barriers, and your technique was just so much better than everyone else's. You had like, you would put your foot up and really project off and almost like clear the water. You have a one-up on other people because your technique is so solid and strong, and I'm sure that comes from gymnastics and running at objects like you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that, not having that fear of it, and because I always tell people one of the biggest pieces of advice when pursuing the steeple is being aggressive. Like, I think everyone wants to be timid and they stutter at the barriers, and in the water jump, they kind of just fall straight water, but actually like, an appropriate amount of control and power is much better than kind of just falling into it or
Totally.
Being timid.
So that actually brings us to our next question. How would you explain the steeplechase to somebody who didn't know what it was?
A lot of times I describe it as like long distance hurtling, because most people will know what like the hurdle event is, 100-meter hurdles or 110 hurdles. Mm-hmm. But then, with barriers that will not fall, so you can't hit them. And then explaining the water jump is a little difficult too. Cause and then, one of them is in front of a water pit. And so you want to try to get one foot in the water and one out. And, but yeah, long distance hurdling for short. And then I would say the like description of how it feels is almost like cross country on a track, just because there's a certain rhythm to flat racing that you can kind of get into. And obviously, like there are some races that'll go tactical, but you get into, more of a rhythm, and the steeple is not a rhythm event just because you'll hit things at various points, or, someone in front of you falls or someone in front of you stutters. And so you're kind of constantly having to be aware of what's happening. And so there really isn't as much of a like zoning out. And I think that happens in cross too. Like, cross country, there's always something changing or surges, and it's just a much bigger race. And so, I think the feelings are pretty similar in terms of like how to approach the race.
Gosh, it's such a scary event. I could never do it. And it's almost so unpredictable too. Just like, cause it just takes one little mess up and you can go from first to last. So it's, I don't know, you gotta be with it mentally and physically the whole time. Is it scary? Like when you're in a pack of people and you have the steeple coming up, but you can't get a clear view of it?
I have wondered the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to trust jumping with kind of a group, and like, okay, they're going, so I'm going to go. And, thankfully, like in college, we would practice in groups. Like, it'd be me, Griffin, and Brett, or me, Griffin, and Kyle. Because like for a long time, it was just, I was the only female steeplechaser for a couple years. And then it was nice when like Sarah and Gabby started steepling. And so the three of us were able to kind of do some group hurdling work together. But it is a lot different, and you kind of have to, trust your form. And that's where like the aggressive approach with your form, so that way you don't like kind of get bumped around too much.
So when was your first exposure to the steeplechase?
It wasn't until freshman year of college. And I remember someone was joking around doing drills, and it was the cross country season. And I had heard of the steeple before because I'd had a friend that had run it, but I had never tried it myself or anything. And I was like, oh, that event looks fun. And Coach Butler, our college coach, is like, well, good, because that's the event I want you to try. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, cool. And so we started drills pretty early, and right away they felt natural. They felt exciting. And then I actually ran my very first steeple at the MU relays in March of 2012. And just right away, that first race, like I knew that I loved the event. Like it was it was perfect. Because track was definitely what I struggled with more in terms of running, like figuring out where I fit in like track and field. So I had finally found it.
I feel like you found it pretty quickly, since like, you got into it, you got into running more your senior year of high school, and then freshman year of college, you already found your perfect event. That seems really fast.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a 5K runner when I went to college, and then it was really Coach Butler. He just picked up right away on just some of these skills that I had from my background in soccer and gymnastics, and thought, what better way to use these than to try this out? And that's what's cool. And I think we're seeing a shift across the board in terms of the steeple being something people actually pursue because they realize they have strengths for it, versus it being like, oh, I don't know, they're not going to score in the 5K, so we're just going to throw them in there. And then that's what I think develops fear in the event, because, you go in unprepared, whereas Coach Miller was so good at preparing us to be ready that by the time we were put into a race, it was muscle memory because we'd gone over the hurdles so many times and we'd, prepared properly for the water jump. And that makes a big difference.
Cool.
So fast forwarding a little bit, your senior year, you set the NCAA national record, you won steeple, and then you signed with Nike, you qualified for your first Olympic team, and it was all in a pretty short period of time. So can you kind of quickly go over that just transition from college to the professional life and what it was like competing at the Olympics?
Yeah, those 3 weeks were a whirlwind. It was like, NCAAs went like as it was a dream. Like, that was something I'd been working toward for a long time. And that was so much fun. And then, no matter how prepared you think you are, I'd really tried to use that whole year to kind of look at options and figure out an agent and everything. Like, it was so stressful going into the Olympic, trying to figure out a contract and everything. But it was exciting to be able to go into Olympic trials with that kind of checked off. And then, making the Olympic team was an absolute dream come true. Like, this is something I've been dreaming about since I was a child. And so, but I will say I definitely underestimated the transition then from that level to the next level, the international level. And some of it, I think, too, is like I'd been at the collegiate level and even competing kind of on the national level for a few years at that point. And so you kind of get a sense of where you fit in. And I had started to feel like I belonged. But then I got to the international level and it was like kind of like being a freshman all over again. It was like, oh my gosh, like so many of these women have been here for years. And, these are the people I've been looking up to. And so you kind of put people on a pedestal a little bit. And I think the same thing happens when you go from a high school athlete to a college athlete or, like a middle school athlete to a high school athlete. Like every transition, like has these same feelings and these same things to figure out. And I do think I struggled with that a little bit of that in Rio, the prelim, I had a very concrete goal and I really went after it and did a good job with that. But then in the final, I think I was a little starstruck at times, like, just like, oh my gosh, like they're supposed to be ahead of me,
Yeah.
And so, it really took that whole next year to figure out and learn how to, be appropriately confident racing these people that I'd looked up to, like kind of, having enough confidence in myself that I belonged there.
Aww.
Yeah. Just takes that little bit of time to just know that that's where you need to be and you belong. You feel out of place at first. I like how you said, like, it's like your freshman year all over again. That was a good way to put that.
Yeah. I mean, because you think about it, like you're a freshman on a college team and there's fifth years and the workouts they're doing, you're just like, oh my gosh. And that happened to me. Like the first fall I show up and it was me, Amy Craig, Emily Enfeld, and Shalane Flanagan working out together.
No big deal.
And here I am, like, I can barely get through like 3 to 4 mile repeats. And, Shalane and Amy are doing 10. And I'm like, I'm doing so bad. And Jerry's like, Courtney, they've been running professionally for over 10 years. Like, you can't expect yourself to just jump right in and be a senior athlete. And I was like, okay, you're right. Like, so, it's hard to find like the balance between being kind to yourself about the real thing that there's progress to be made, but also like, you don't want to sell yourself short. Like you want to challenge yourself. And so that was a big thing too, finding the balance between like not getting upset at myself, but also like like setting appropriate goals,
Totally.
I saw one thing that your coach, Jerry Schumacher, said, that just show up and be the best Courtney that you can be on that day. Has that stuck with you and helped a lot?
It has. That's something that I've worked really hard to try to continue to do every time because, I think we all want there to be a perfect formula for getting a race result. But the reality is like each of us respond differently to different stimulus and we need different workouts or a different combination of stimulus to get the same results. And we all have different backgrounds. I started running so late, even in comparison to most of my teammates now. can't expect myself to look the same in workouts or be able to put together the same amount of volume or hit the same things. Like all I can do is be the best Courtney. I can't go into practice and be like, okay, I need to be Shelby today, like just be me. And that's helped with like trying to get rid of the idea of like things needing to be perfect, because when you do have a big group of people, you want to take advantage of everyone being able to train together. But that means that people are going to be stopping at various points. Like there isn't going to be, a one size fits all necessarily, even within the same workout where we can all benefit. And so it's like, okay, was that good for me today? And it's like, yes, I progressed from who I was last week, who I was last month, who I was last year. But, it's always easier said than done.
I love that. I think that's a really good takeaway for every runner, and we have so many different runners like at the Charge app, like beginner to more advanced. It's like, you can't look at somebody else and say, oh, I really want to do that workout exactly how they did it. Or, even if your training partners are going to be a little bit different. And so just being easy on yourself and where you're at, I mean, that really struck a chord with me when you said that.
Yeah. I mean, if you can walk away and say, I made the absolute most out of this day, then that's something you should be proud of, no matter how it compares to other people.
I love that. So I feel like I know what the answer is going to be to this question. Larry and I were trying to guess, but we'd love to know what your most memorable accomplishment is. So we know, you ran in the Olympics, you got a silver medal at the World Championships, you even set an American record. Which would you say is your favorite or most memorable?
This is always a hard one, just because obviously, the American record was an amazing moment for me, but records will be broken. And so, it definitely comes down to the Olympics and the medal. And it was like, gosh, I don't like, there's both of them. Like in terms of like, I would say, I think a lot of people remember, I guess, my athletic accomplishments as of right now with being the medal, because it was a historical race and it was just a really incredible moment, but also the child in me, like making the Olympic team was an absolute like lifelong dream come true. Yeah. And I think making the Olympic team made the medal possible.
Yeah.
So, I think that has to be like the number one thing. Not even, and it wouldn't even necessarily be like that race I would classify as like my best race, but just like accomplishing that goal was something, I had worked for like what at that point, like 14, 15 years. Like,
yeah.
I think that's definitely
yeah, that's good. You can't give a straight answer on those. Like they're all good.
Totally. They're all good.
I do remember walking out into the stadium for the first time, and that was when it hit me what I was doing. And in particular that day, the stadium was pretty full because Usain Bolt was racing. And so it felt really neat to have like, the crowd was really excited. And that was whenever it really hit me that we were at the Olympics. And then additionally, once I was done racing, I went to the Olympic Park. Something unique about Rio was that the track was actually removed from the Olympic Park. And that was the case for a variety of different venues. They were kind of around the city, but the Olympic Park still had, a large majority of the venues. And I walked into the Olympic Park, and that was what I like envisioned the Olympics being like, like I could like turn in a circle like this, and it'd be like, there's where they are doing basketball, and there's where they're doing gymnastics, and that's the pool, and that's
cool.
That's amazing. And so that was like, I think the final full circle moment was like, I'd finished competing, and then I like kind of got to experience the spectacle of it too. And so, yeah.
Did you get to watch gymnastics at all?
I did. I got to go to the final day. So it was like, there's this picture of me and Griffin. He absolutely loves the photo because I am just like grinning ear to ear, and you can just see I'm so excited. Like I'm here, I'm at the Olympics, I just competed, and now I'm getting to watch the other sport that is still like a huge part of my life. And, I got to see Simone win a gold medal and Allie Raceman win a silver on the floor. And so, that was an amazing, like, other part of the Olympics. experience. So it's just getting to be a fan also.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
you still keep up with gymnastics quite a bit, follow it, everything?
Yeah, I do. Like I love keeping up with the sport and just I like to even like watch a lot of videos, like especially on race day, because it kind of gets me in a competitive mood without like it being running related. And so,
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's
yeah, I
cool.
think it's just like it gets me excited, and yeah, I still have such a soft spot for the sport. I love it.
Go
So
for it,
kind
Lynn.
of talking about the Olympics still, do you have any thoughts on the International Olympic Committee deciding to postpone the Olympics?
Um, you know, I think it was definitely like pretty emotional, like in terms of my own reactions to it. I think it had to happen. There was just no way that, from everything we've heard, Tokyo is going to be incredible. I mean, the city, the country, they are so excited about hosting this Olympics, and they put a lot of work into it. And I think to try to have it without fans or just like, limited, like really limiting it, it wouldn't be able to be what it should be. And so I think postponing it in order for it to be the event that it deserves to be is the right call, and really for it to be contested at a time that the world can come together to celebrate it, I think is the best call. Like it was a lot to take in as an athlete, just because, I've been thinking about Tokyo every day basically since Rio. That my first Olympic cycle, like I had so much else going on in my life in the sport, and the Olympics wasn't something I thought about near as much because there were a lot of other things that I was focused on or I needed to accomplish along the way. But, in the professional kind of realm of things, like we operate in 4-year cycles. And so we had gotten to the bell lap of a 4-year cycle. We were in the final 3 months of preparation for the Olympic trials. And, amongst 4 years is the very end. And there's a certain mindset that we had, started to move into in order to complete those final preparations. And we really needed to kind of move out of that quickly because it's just not sustainable for now a year and 4 months. And, there's a certain transition and training that needs to happen in order to kind of sustain the level of intensity you want to be able to get to when the Olympics does come around. And, thankfully for myself, and I think a lot of people on my team, for us, being another year older isn't necessarily a bad thing. I am kind of, sad that I potentially am losing what I would consider a year kind of in my prime. My first Olympics, I was young, and I still had a lot to learn. And I think I've, used these last 4 years to kind of get into a good position to where I consider myself hopefully a medal contender. And, it's hard to think about potentially kind of losing this year because we may not be able to race at all. But at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And I think that when we do get to have the Olympics, it's going to be incredible. And I think it's good that we made, like, the decision was made around, in the best interest for everybody.
Oh, that's a positive spin. That's got to be hard, though. Oh, my gosh. Especially if we didn't know that it was going to be moved up until maybe, a handful of days before you would have traveled there. I can't even imagine.
Right. And that was why there was a big push from the athletes, from a lot of the governing bodies. Like, you really need to make a decision now because it really does affect a lot of people in how well prepared we could be if it is changed too. Mm-hmm. And so I was thankful that they just finally said, you know what, we need to do this. Because, if we even waited until now, like we would have been having to make a big push to try to get to an altitude camp. A lot of things that, in hindsight, with how this has progressed, it just wouldn't have been possible for us to really do our normal preparation. And so I'm glad that they went ahead and, made the decision and moved forward. But yeah, it was emotional and it's affected a lot of people, just in my own circle in different ways. Like I definitely had a breakdown on the track one day because it was a lot to take in. It's an emotional thing when every decision we've made for the last 4 years is centered around this Olympics, and hopefully being there ready to try to win a medal. And, and I have a lot of teammates too that this is potentially their last Olympiad. And so like, it is hard whenever you add another year. And I even read, an article about Simone Biles saying she's still making that decision if she goes another year, because the toll it takes on your body is hard. And, particularly a sport like gymnastics, and, another year is a lot. So
seriously. So how has your training changed because of the virus? Like, what are you doing now? What's a typical weekly schedule?
Yeah, so we've like stuck to our normal approach in terms of like, we were on a workout Tuesday, workout Friday, long run Sunday type schedule, and we've stuck with that. But we're not meeting as a team. We used to meet pretty much every day. We don't do that anymore. Nike's closed their facility, and so we're not able to meet to do our gym work. So thankfully, I've collected some various equipment, and I've been able to do it here at the house. Thankfully, Griffin does a lot of training, and he was actually training for the Boston Marathon, so his mileage was really high. So I was able, to run, and have been able to run with him every day. And, we've kind of figured out various tracks around the city that are open, thankfully. We are in an area that they haven't shut all the tracks, which I know that's a reality for some people, which is, hard. But running, at least you can do, you don't need a track to get it done. Like, you can get a lot of really good work in just going out in your neighborhood. But we've definitely taken, kind of shifted back toward, I would say more like our fall phase a little bit more, a lot more strength work, a lot more speed endurance type work, and really putting an emphasis on good mileage, just because we don't know when we'll be able to compete. And so there's no real pressure or, immediate need to be in sort of like race shape. It's kind of like, let's get strong right now.
Yeah.
Got it. And so is it safe to say we can call Griffin like a Bowerman babe right now for the time being?
Yes. Yeah. We call them the Bowerman Bays.
Oh, Bowerman. There we go.
And they're like the significant others of the Bowerman crew. And then we have a few Bowerman babies.
Oh,
I'm
just like trying to fathom how your training has changed, and it's just so crazy to me to be, in that ready to go, getting that mind preparation down, you're ready, and then all of a sudden it's like back to base, strength training, back to the beginning almost.
Yeah, and thankfully, like, we were in a good place in terms of like, I think fitness wise, and so it feels a lot better than it does in the fall, like in terms of doing this work and strength work. But I really had to shift too, because like, every day my motivation was coming from like, okay, now we're 15 weeks out from the Olympic trials, and then now we're 14 weeks out or stuff like that. And it's like, now I'm a year and 4 months away from the Olympics, and I'm an unknown number of weeks before a race, and there's nothing on the calendar. And so, it's like, okay, where is my daily motivation coming from? And so it's definitely that's been the biggest thing, is kind of like figuring out the right mindset and how to, just, we still struggle with motivation too, even when it is like our job.
For sure. Oh my gosh. When you say long runs on the weekends, how many miles are you typically doing on a Saturday?
So we do them on Sundays, but so I typically go anywhere from 1:45 to 2 hours. So anywhere from probably about 14 to, I think the longest I've gone is somewhere between 18 and 19.
Dang. Getting up there.
Pretty fast.
Yeah, that was a big jump from college. It was more like, 12 to 13. And then I got to Jerry, and he was like, okay, we're starting. He let me do 90 for a while, since that was my comfort zone. And then he was like, okay, we really want 1:45. And I was like, okay. But a nice transition from like college to Jerry's program is like, we record everything in miles, but it's all based off of 8-minute miles. So it really is kind of for time. And so I was able to really learn to focus on reading and listening to my body versus, I don't know, I think sometimes in college I would be like, I'm just going to run my 6 miles as fast as I can to get done.
Yeah. Gosh. I got to ask, Courtney, what shoe is your like shoe of choice that you're training in right now?
I do all my daily runs in the Structure, the Nike Structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a stability person.
You don't use the Infinity? You still have like some of the old Structures?
I still have some of the old Structures. I do need to start incorporating the Infinity in a little bit more. But yeah. I'm one of those people that when I like find a shoe that works, I just stick with it. And I definitely get afraid of too much change. And then a lot of us use the Vaporfly or the Next Percent in a lot of our training even. We just find that on a lot of those like strength workouts and, you know, higher volume tempo work that it really saves our legs for the other days of the week. So
yeah.
Interesting. That makes sense. Larry, what do you think about that?
I approve, but I'm jealous. Definitely.
It is, you know, it is nice because we definitely have a little bit more access to them. So, but
yeah, that's cool. So let's lighten the mood a little bit. We'd love if you could share a funny or embarrassing story that's happened to you or any of the Bowerman babes since you joined the team.
Oh gosh, I'm like so bad at this.
Embarrassing stories are hard.
I know. I feel like I block them out and say don't remember them. Last year we were in Boston and I was the one that had been on the team the longest. It was 4 of us and we were going to, we were running a 5K and I left my spikes in the lobby of the hotel. And thankfully I remembered. So we had to turn around. We had to like get the Uber to turn around to go get them. But I was like, oh, that's such like a newbie mistake. And here I am in my like 3rd year in the group and I'm forgetting my spikes. But
did you yell at the Uber driver like, we gotta turn around? I would freak out.
Yeah, I definitely had my like moment of panic, but I was like, guys, I don't know what to do. Like, and I was like definitely freaking out. I mean, one really embarrassing, I guess, but also just like, you know, but this was not while I was in Bowerman. This was my freshman year of college. It was my very first 5K on the indoor track, and they got the lap count all messed up. And I didn't know it because it was my first 5K, and a 5K on an indoor track is 25 laps, and I was just running.
That's a lot of
laps. They rang the bell, and there was one girl that had lapped everyone. So I was like, okay, I have 2 laps. And I started kicking so hard. And I am like so pumped, and I'm like, I think I got 3rd. And I come across the finish line, and I have this huge smile on my face. And I'm like, yes, like I did so awesome. And Coach Butler was like, you have another lap. And I just had a look of horror, and it was just like, and I like tried to start running again. And it was this like power walk because I really used everything because I kicked. And I think I ended up running like a 50-second last 200 because I had already kicked, and I ended up getting like 9th or 10th and just missed scoring, all because like I kicked a lap too early. And I was devastated.
That's a runner's nightmare.
That's awful. It's like,
and then having to still run.
Yeah.
After that, did you start counting the laps in your head because you were so scared that someone was going to ring the bell too early, or you're going to like have another accident like that?
I didn't end up running another 5K for another year, but I do remember being a lot more cautious about what was going on because it was so horrifying. Like I was just like, Coach Beller always says he wished he could have taken a picture of my face because I was just like just, you've got to be kidding me. Like I thought I got this right. Like they ran it, I had 2 laps, and it was so bad.
Oh, that just sounds, oh my gosh, I cannot even imagine.
So our last question before we do just a couple quick like 1-sentence answer questions. What advice could you give like a runner that may be just kind of going through like a little slump right now, or just may not be quite as motivated to get out there and get their miles in during this kind of crazy time we're all going through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that I've been really trying to focus on, and I've kind of shifted, I think, my goals toward, because I think having goals is what keeps us going. And it's hard to have a goal whenever it's like, oh, I don't have a race or, various things going on right now. And for me, something that I've really tried to put an emphasis on just in general is falling in love with the process and like really believing in that. And that means, taking things day by day versus like only being focused on one point out there. And so, I think that that's important, whether it's, you're looking for motivation or you're trying to get through this crazy time or you're coming back from an injury, making the most of each day versus it feeling like it needs to be this overwhelming long thing out there. And so, I've been focusing on the process of running versus like preparation for X. And I've been finding it's helping a lot. It's helping a lot. I feel way more in sync with my running because I'm just figuring out what the goal for that day is and making the most of that instead of it being like, okay, the Olympic trials, that's my goal. And like, that's why every day happens. And so, and I think
that's really nice.
A lot of runners, we talk about, loving the process and everything, but it's always easier said than done when there's a race on the calendar. And so this is a perfect time to make that your goal, I think. And I think it makes it so much, it makes each day more enjoyable, I think, too.
Absolutely. Larry, we have to say that to all of our runners now. We're like, Courtney said this, so you have to do it. Everyone will be like, okay, let's do it.
Deal.
Okay.
All right, Courtney, just a couple fun, quick little questions. What is your pre-race breakfast that you eat?
Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops.
How did that start?
So freshman year of college, I had a really good race after eating some Fruit Loops at like the hotel, and it kind of just stuck. Like I literally, legitimately ate them the morning I made the Olympic team. I ate them the morning that I won the medal and the morning that I raced in Monaco, and set the American record. Like I'll travel with them over to Europe and everything. I've added more into my morning breakfast alongside the Fruit Loops, but the Fruit Loops are definitely always
a staple.
A part of it.
Mm-hmm. Do you only eat them for race day, or do you eat them throughout the week?
It's only race day.
Yeah, you can't mess it up. Like if you eat it too often, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
It's not as natural.
I can see that, like the carbs with like the nice high sugar rush, like.
Right. There's no secret to like what you're supposed to eat on race day other than that you just want to make sure that it works for you and it makes you feel like it's race day. Like the worst thing you can do is like go eat super healthy, like way healthier than you normally do. Then you're probably asking for an upset stomach. So
all right, next one. What is your favorite food?
Oh gosh.
Other than Fruit Loops.
I know.
Fruit Loops.
That's so hard for me.
You can say multiple.
I love pasta.
What's your favorite place to eat? Favorite restaurant or favorite place to eat?
Well, my go-to pre-race restaurant is Olive Garden. I love to get spaghetti and meatballs. I think spaghetti and meatballs is actually one of my favorite foods. And I make that pretty much every week. So.
Ooh, I love that.
I also have a major sweet tooth. So, I could go on about the desserts I love.
Yeah, what's your favorite dessert?
Well, the birthday cake that the girls always make me, it's up there. They always make me a triple chocolate cake.
Oh man, so it's all chocolatey.
Yeah. So, or like some sort of ice cream that also has like chocolate and frosting mixed into it. They have an ice cream out here in Portland that's it's a limited edition, and it's like a sea salt ice cream with chocolate cake and then chocolate ganache. That is
okay. So you're a chocolate gal.
Yes.
Do you like Voodoo donuts?
Oh, I love donuts too.
Okay. When I went to Portland, I had the Voodoo donuts. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Voodoo? They're pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, donuts are donuts, but.
My very first trip out to Portland, we had Voodoo donuts also. Like, I remember it was actually my first NCAA meet, and Coach Butler was really excited, and so he took us to Voodoo after.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Fun.
Yeah, you can't have a bad donut.
You really can't.
And you still do a back handspring.
Yes.
When was the last time you did one? Has it been a while? Just because of
yes.
everything?
Yeah, and probably maybe a year ago. I go in and visit my old gymnastics coach, most times when I'm home. And up until I signed to go pro, every time I would go in, I would actually like bring my grips and I would do bars, like do some giants and, do a standing back tuck or stuff like that. But then once I went pro, I kind of decided that probably needed to end. Just, it wouldn't be a good look if I got injured. But back handsprings are something I feel pretty confident doing without any sort of training leading into it. So, but it's probably been a year. So,
just no big deal though. You could do them in your sleep.
Yeah, probably.
I said you could just do them in your sleep. No big deal.
It's funny. It's like my body remembers, and my mind remembers how to do like a lot of things. It's just a matter of whether I still have that strength to. Just because there is a lot of upper body muscle that I lost from not doing gymnastics anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different muscles.
Yeah.
So out of season, do you have a favorite alcoholic beverage?
I'm not like a huge drinker. But when we do go out and celebrate, I'll either have like a glass of red wine or a gin and tonic.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. And lastly, when you're like in a hard workout or in the like end of a race and your legs are burning, do you have like a mantra in your head that you just repeat to yourself to kind of get you through it, or anything that you tell yourself in those times?
Yeah, actually I'm like huge on either like positive self-talk or mantras or power statements. That's something that I started doing in 2017 before the World Championship race. For that race, it was be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. And for that race, I wore a temporary tattoo on my wrist that said fearless. And then and now like I wear this bracelet that says fearless, and I have a ring too.
Sick.
So just because that was like such a significant thing for me. So fearless is kind of my go-to word. But I'll have various statements throughout the year, the season. In 2018, it was a simple statement of let yourself run. And I was like repeating that over and over again the last 300 meters of Monaco, because I was having trouble with kind of overthinking things during that year. And so it was a reminder to kind of shut the brain off and do what I know how to do.
I love that.
Recently, it's been You Are Strong. So kind of, different ones. Like, and like some of that, I don't know how I come up with them. It just like, it feels appropriate. I'll kind of have like a little breakthrough, and it's either something I said or something Jerry said. And it kind of becomes my word or my sentence for a little bit. For a while, Lori Hernandez, who's a gymnast, she is often seen kind of like taking a deep breath and going like, I got this, before like she would do beam routines. And I do that a lot actually. And I pulled that from her, like, especially I do that in workouts, like before like a really hard rep, or I'll be like, okay, I got this. Or like, if I'm with my team, I'm like, okay, we got this, like stuff like that. So a variety of
super important to just have like that positive self-talk all the time. I think, I don't know. It's easy to focus on the negatives, especially in that time.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's all I got. Anything else for you, Michelle?
Do you have any advice that you would give to people who want to start running and they're just kind of unsure of how to get into it?
Well, I think going back to kind of enjoying your own journey with it, like, we talked about like not feeling like you have to do it any certain way that others do it, and enjoying each accomplishment along the way. And that's something that I remember working at a running camp in the summers, and I loved that we celebrated every accomplishment across the board. For some people that was getting through a whole mile without stopping. And then for others, it was winning the 5K at the end. And so I think setting realistic goals for yourself and being proud of every single one, even if it seems nothing is silly, like even if it's literally like I ran 3 minutes without stopping 2 times today. Like if you accomplish that goal, that's huge. And so I think having a variety of goals along the way, like that are appropriate for you and fully celebrating them, I think will help you continue to build and go after more. So
I love that.
That's for sure. Well, Courtney, seriously, thank you so much. I know we kept you. I know you're super busy too, probably with like meetings. And are you meeting with your team a lot?
We've had a few little, like, I guess, quote, happy hours, which is kind of fun just to feel like social within. And I've had some different Zoom calls, which has been fun. It's been neat to see like the running world trying to stay connected despite everything going on. And so I've enjoyed a lot of the Zoom calls and Skypes like this. So
for sure. It's kind of reconnecting, I guess, in a good way during this time.
Exactly.
But thank you so much. Like it was like awesome. You had like amazing responses. I'm definitely took some things away from it that I'm even applying to my running. Like you said, just got to focus on like one day at a time. Since there's no big goal to focus on. There's one thing I'm taking for sure.
Me too.
It's a way to like not get overwhelmed right now. So
yes,
just joy in it.
Well, hang in there and stay safe.
Too.
So good meeting you. Bye, Courtney.
See you.
Well, Larry, I think we did it. That was an awesome interview. I love Courtney. She's like the sweetest person in the world. Thank you so much for setting this up.
Yeah, it was awesome just getting to catch up with her, and just her responses to everything were so detailed. Like I said, one of the things she said is really just going to help me kind of even in this time with training and everything.
Same. Oh my gosh. Focusing on each workout as it comes. All of us have probably had to change up our routine and, you know, what we were training for.
Don't get the big picture. Just kind of be tunnel visioned on each day and go back to the basics. Focus on your weaknesses during these times. And, you know, when all this is over with, you're going to be a better, stronger runner.
Absolutely. Well, Larry, I will talk to you soon. See you in the app. And
all right.
Take care. Stay safe.
It was a pleasure. See ya.
Bye.
What is that? What did I just do?
I don't know, but I did it too.